Am I wasting my time with my ex? After a tumultuous breakup filled with jealousy and confusion, I reconnected with my ex who still has feelings for a coworker. Do I hold on to love and hope for a future together, or is it time to let go for good? This may be a lengthy post, as I will do my best to provide all the details to achieve the best outcome in responses. I met my ex on a dating application when she was 21 and I was 19. We connected instantly and spent a considerable amount of time together over a 2-week period. As is common in many lesbian relationships, we officially got together after 2 weeks. Overall, the relationship was not bad. Like every relationship, we had our difficult moments, but generally, it was positive. The primary issues that arose stemmed from our differing communication styles. She was very avoidant. Whenever she was upset, even if it was not directed at me, I would be ignored or her entire demeanor would change. I would ask what was wrong, but I was often brushed off until she became annoyed with me and typically snapped, asking me to just give her space and leave her alone. I, on the other hand, preferred to address issues immediately so they would not linger. I also have a strong aversion to the avoidant style, as my mother exhibited that behavior throughout my life, making it even more bothersome for me. Throughout the relationship, she would frequently point out what traits I lacked and express her desire for me to possess them. You are not protective, you wear too many graphic shirts, you cannot handle tension without laughing. At this time, I was around 20 or 21. I was still very in touch with my youthful side, as I enjoyed playing video games and watching gameplay videos on YouTube. It hurt my feelings because no matter how hard I tried to meet her standards, it was never enough. In the middle of 2024, she became completely distant for a week. Her texts were dry, and in person, she was very withdrawn. I became frightened that she would leave me. I kept asking what was wrong, feeling certain something was off, but once again, my concerns were dismissed. That weekend, she went out with friends and kept mentioning how one of her friend's boyfriends was so protective over her friend, commenting on how cute it was. I sensed it was a jab at me. I understand a woman wanting to feel protected by her partner, but I am also a woman. Although I am taller than the average woman, I am quite thin. I could only do so much in a given situation. I was doing my best. It was not until one day that she called me and expressed uncertainty about whether she could remain in a relationship with me. I tried to be understanding, but it hurt me deeply. Later that day, she retracted her statement. Since then, it lingered in the back of my mind. We hung out the day after she told me that, and I was just frazzled. How could she say that but still try to be affectionate with me? I couldn't wrap my head around it. I had so many questions. I asked if I could pose a couple of questions regarding her statement, and she gave me permission. I only asked one question. Have you been feeling this way, or was it just something you woke up thinking? She immediately shut down, avoided eye contact, and refused to answer me. I became extremely upset because I was already troubled by our earlier conversation, and now she wouldn't even respond. I asked again, and she snapped back, telling me to stop interrogating her. I dropped it, and she left that night, but we stayed together. I pushed everything aside, knowing I would not get anywhere. By August 2024, she began exhibiting the same behavior, distance and different body language. It was almost identical to before. She felt like a stranger to me over the weekend. Still, I tried not to let it bother me as I was going to see her later that day. It was a Tuesday, my second day of university, and I was excited to share my experiences with her so far. After finishing work, she texted me, "I will see you another day. I am going out with my co-workers." I felt hurt and worried, perplexed as to why she did not want to see me. I replied, pointing out that we had plans first. She snapped back at me, claiming that it was always emotional with me and that she just wanted to have fun. I could not accept this because, in my mind, there was no way she could avoid me all weekend and not even want to see me for a few hours. She eventually came by, but with a terrible attitude, so I started the conversation angrily, asking her why she did not want to see me. She became defensive, insisting it was not a big deal. We went back and forth until she suggested taking a break. I pleaded for this not to happen, but she insisted. I did not want to lose her, so I consented. I thought it was just a break, that we would get back together. A week later, she stated, "You know we are broken up, right?" She continued to bring it up for weeks. I held on to the hope that we would reunite, because if I told my mother, she would not want her around anymore, so I absorbed my feelings to keep my ex in my life. I was understanding, but I was devastated. She continued sending me intimate pictures while being unresponsive for hours. She would call me randomly on certain days, and I could hear her in the car. To keep the conversation going, I would ask, "Oh, where are you coming from?" leading to her saying it was none of my business anymore. From August to November, those were the hardest months of my life. She constantly oscillated between expressing a desire to get back together and saying to forget about it. She would kiss me, allow me to kiss her, and occasionally, our interactions would escalate to intimacy, but I was the one blamed for not respecting boundaries, despite never initiating anything. She would kiss me first or give me looks that only I understood meant she wanted more. The last week of September marked the final time we had sex, and the beginning of October was my birthday. We went to Disney, and we shared a kiss. I mention this because the day after my birthday, she texted me, stating she wanted to get back together but needed to confess something. She had kissed her coworker and avoided specifying any gender or identity, but it was, of course, the one guy I had been concerned about. It hurt me deeply, but I said, "Hey, we can work this out." A few hours later, she retracted her statement about wanting to reunite. Now I was aware that she had kissed a coworker without reason. This weighed heavily on my mind. We had been together for 2 years, and just a month after breaking up, she allowed that to happen. At the beginning of November, I asked her if she still loved me or if a part of her remained in love with me. Her response was no. On that day, I finally realized I was wasting my time. I cried daily for her. I could not wake up without anxiety coursing through my body. I lost 30 pounds during those months because I could hardly eat. We had a trip planned in December to New York, which was her birthday present from me earlier that year. I still wanted to take her. In my mind, it was my last act of love before I would naturally distance myself because I felt I had no place in her life anymore. She was extraordinarily unkind throughout the breakup, constantly reminding me that we were not together and keeping me waiting for her replies. As November progressed, nothing changed aside from the discussions about going to New York. She made it clear it was merely a trip between friends and that she did not want anything more to happen. I agreed as I only wanted her company on the trip. Near the end of November, I let myself have a distraction. Nothing physical happened. It was not my smartest decision, but the individual told me the things I wanted to hear. It was the first time in months that I genuinely felt valued. My ex and I had also agreed that if we decided to see other people, we would not inform each other until it became official, to respect one another. I followed that principle. She was doing whatever it was she did, as she did not respond to me for hours. Consequently, I allowed myself to accept the attention, and thus I did not say anything. We arrived in New York. On the first day, we visited a soccer store, and she mentioned a team that I knew she did not know. I love soccer, but I only follow women's soccer. She spoke of a men's team, so I asked her how she even knew about that team. She froze, and at that moment, I realized she knew this team through her coworker, who also loved soccer and coached on the weekends. My heart sank further when she said she simply wanted to buy him a gift for Christmas. It might not seem like a significant issue, but to me, it was. She had never bought me a jersey or shown any interest in my teams beyond what I told her. It made me realize how insignificant I felt to her now. The days passed. We had fun until one night we got drunk and ended up having sex. I was fine with hooking up, as she labeled it that way. At this point, I didn't care anymore, as she made her feelings crystal clear. Later that night, I woke up to throw up since I am a lightweight. She knocked on the bathroom door and immediately asked me who I was talking to and how dare I do that on our trip. She went through my phone while I was in the bathroom. To this day, I am unsure how she guessed my new password since it was no longer her birthday. We fought for hours. She cried and yelled at me, asking how I could do this. She took my phone multiple times, threatening to text the other girl and claim we had sex. She even bit my hand to make me let go of my phone. She stormed out and returned with beer cans, drinking herself into oblivion or remaining in the shower sobbing loudly. I was at a loss for what to do. I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, but to her, I had betrayed and used her by flirting with someone else during our trip. Later that day, when she settled down, she mentioned she had been thinking about us getting back together and wanted to tell me after New York. Naturally, I found it hard to believe. Now that she saw me moving on or distracted, she wanted to return. We spent the last 2 days tiptoeing around the issue. I explained to her that the distraction was not a true relationship. I told her that hurtful words made me feel worthless because they were always comparisons or pointed out my perceived shortcomings. I told her that the kiss devastated me, but she retorted that it was just a kiss and nothing more. I pretended to be all right for the remaining 2 days, but I could not stop shaking with anxiety. It was the first time I had ever felt scared of her. We finally landed back home, and she expressed a desire to try again, but I did not want to. Not in that moment. Too much had happened. I witnessed a side of her that I had never known existed. I felt uncomfortable, scared, and confused. She wanted me to end everything just to be with her, but I knew that was not fair to me. We exchanged words at the airport for a while until I decided that I simply needed time. My mother came to pick us up, and the tension was palpable. Once we dropped my ex off, I began to cry because those 2 days had been so overwhelming. I just wanted to go home and be with my family. She asked if I planned to tell my mom, and I replied yes, as I could no longer keep everything bottled up. She responded with sarcasm and walked away. I broke down in my mother's arms, telling her all I could in that moment. Shortly after, my ex began bombarding my mother with texts, pleading with me not to tell her and claiming we could be better. She started calling my mother, but we ignored it. When we returned home, we found her already there, yelling and screaming my name, begging me to come back. I did my best to ignore her, but it only made me feel worse. She showed up at my door and refused to leave, knocking for nearly an hour until my mom threatened to call the police. I ended up blocking her, overwhelmed and disoriented by everything I had endured. Finally, quiet returned. I tried my best to sleep, but I could not. In the following days, I received constant emails and direct messages from various accounts. I replied to one email, stating I simply needed space and requested a few days to think. The emails kept coming in, with her pleading to see her and talk. Throughout that month, I would occasionally see her, but she refused to accept no or space as valid responses. Naturally, I became increasingly harsh. I grew more severe and unkind because I was merely asking for one thing, and she kept doing everything but that. I started to distance myself as I became more firm with her, but of course, as I began to feel better, my feelings for her re-emerged. After New York, a month and 2 weeks elapsed before I finally reached out, wishing her a happy birthday and letting her know I felt ready to try again if she was open to it. I understood it would not be easy, but I had never loved anyone the way I loved her. It may sound cliché, but I am genuinely in love with her. This was on January 28th, and since then, we have been spending more time together, discussing what transpired. She brought to my attention that I was not the only one who wanted her. During that month and 2 weeks of her constant pleading, she found comfort in the same coworker. I told her I respected her feelings, but I did not want to know any details. She insisted on being honest, expressing concern that she did not want me to feel betrayed months later. She informed me they had sex. In the current moment, she has gotten her period twice in 1 month, and despite having taken 2 negative pregnancy tests, it remains unclear since she has not gotten it this month. Naturally, it pains me. It took her a month to kiss someone, and throughout the month of her seemingly getting me back, she had sex with him. He is still in her life, as they have developed feelings for each other, and he wishes to be with her. This past Friday, she attended a company dinner and told me she would stop by afterwards since I live just 5 minutes from the restaurant. She did not call me until midnight, and the dinner had started at 6:30 p.m., with the restaurant closing at 10 p.m. I chose not to visit her as I had a 3:30 a.m. shift that day anyway. I woke up to messages from her, saying I should walk away because I keep doing bad things. I had a conversation with the other person, and one thing led to another. I was hurt once again because I had made it abundantly clear that I did not want to know any information. Instead of texting me updates throughout the night, she remained silent until she called me to explain what she was doing. Following that message, she claimed she was distancing herself from the other guy because she felt more inclined toward me. She described their dynamic as mature and understanding, stating that he had been there for her during a time when I was being harsh and provided her with what she wanted to hear. She repeatedly used the word mature, which bothered me, as he is 32 with a child, while I am just starting my life at 22. My question is, am I wasting my time? I love her more than anything, A part of me wants to stay because I can only envision a future with her. But am I squandering my time with all of this, particularly as she continues to keep this guy in her life? They work together. Will her feelings eventually fade? I am just incredibly lost and need advice. Story 2. How do I, 28F, decide whether to break up with my partner, 28M, of 6 years or continue working on the relationship? Apologies in advance for the length of this post. Condensing information is not my strong suit. My partner, 28 years old, male, and I, 28 years old, female, have been in a relationship for over 6 years and moved in together within 7 months of dating. I love him deeply. He is my best friend, and we share several hobbies that make our free time together generally enjoyable. However, I feel that our values and habits are not aligned, and that has led me to disengage from the relationship for some time. I began to feel dissatisfied in our first year of living together when I discovered that he had a very quick temper and would become upset over things that seemed trivial to me. For example, throwing his game controller when a video game frustrated him, becoming so frustrated with a task that he would slam down whatever he was working on, curse, and declare the task impossible before giving up and waiting for me to do it instead, or aggressively driving when someone annoyed him on the road, among other things. I understand that we all experience frustration and anger occasionally, but his reactions were nearly the same every time he felt annoyed. He has never directed his anger at me physically or by yelling, but I do not respond well to loud anger or the lingering frustration he holds onto after being irritated. My father exhibited a similar kind of anger, which frightened me during my childhood, so I believe that fear has carried over into my current relationship. I have tried discussing this with him throughout our time together, but he responded by stating that his situation is not as severe, as he had a father with significant anger issues who was both physically and verbally abusive. Thus, compared to his father, he does not see himself as having a legitimate anger problem. The second issue I faced was our differing values. Prior to moving in together, we discussed some fundamental relationship values, such as whether we wanted children, pets, or a house, but we did not delve into our personal values until the 2020 elections. Discovering our differences was difficult for me. I often felt unable to express my frustrations about political news at the time, and it seemed that it was a topic we could never discuss again after arguing about the importance of personal values in contrast to the value of our relationship. I suppressed most of my views and opinions until the 2024 elections. Fast forward to now, we still face many of the same issues, albeit perhaps to a lesser degree, along with some new challenges. We have been attempting to address our problems through couples therapy. We have been attending sessions since August 2024, though there was a month-long gap due to our work schedules. We have both experienced many enlightening revelations since starting therapy. He has come to recognize that he becomes defensive quickly, which leads to anger or avoidance, and I tend to mentally disengage when I feel things in the relationship are going awry. He has been working on practicing patience and has improved his ability to cool down his temper, but it still flares up more often than I would like. I continue to feel as if I am walking on eggshells, and it often feels easier to remain silent than to say something that might irritate him. We have had numerous arguments about personal values in the last 6 months, and his perspective is that personal values should not carry more weight than the relationship. However, I do not feel like my true self if I do not embrace my values. He does respect his own values, but does not consider them to be more important than our commitment to each other. I have also recently realized that I carry the mental load in our relationship. He performs basic cleaning tasks, such as doing the dishes and clearing clutter, but I generally have to ask for help with anything beyond that. I'm also responsible for all planning in our lives. I keep track of our dog's needs, veterinary appointments, grooming, what we need to purchase or replace in our home, plans we have made, and our financial situation for specific occasions, such as our lease ending, preparing to move, changes in bills throughout the year, etc. Essentially, he works and comes home unless I request something. Even then, when I ask him to do something around the apartment, he might agree, but it is hit or miss whether the task gets completed. I mentioned the mental load about a year ago, though I did not know the term at the time, and he expressed that, as a man, he does not think about such matters and asked me to create lists. I was reluctant to make lists, but I began to do so. However, it did not significantly change anything, and I started to feel it was unfair for me to create lists just to alleviate his burden of remembering to do things. I recently brought the topic up again and sent him an article on the mental load. He said he understood most of it, but subsequently claimed that his mental load is more significant since he works in a physically demanding job with many overlapping tasks that are stressful for him, whereas I work in an office setting. We both work 40 hours a week, and I experience a considerable amount of stress at work, but I still recognize that we have responsibilities outside of our jobs. I also cover most expenses beyond our bills. He earns less, so I cannot entirely fault him for that, but he shows minimal ambition for career advancement. He claims he wants to progress, yet he does not take action to initiate any changes. Consequently, I purchase many household items that we need without giving it much thought, until I notice him spending money he hardly has on personal items rather than on necessities. He recently picked up a little overtime and bought more household items, but because that is not a consistent schedule, I anticipate that he will soon revert to struggling financially. Nonetheless, I still feel I cannot fully hold him accountable because I believe I contribute to his spending habits by silently picking up the slack in purchasing the things we require. Through couples therapy, he has made subtle, slow changes, and he repeatedly expresses his genuine desire to change many of his thoughts and behaviors. As I mentioned at the beginning, I do love him, but I feel that much of the romantic love has diminished over time. I initiated a breakup at the end of last year due to my unhappiness, despite our efforts to resolve our issues. He respected my decision to end the relationship, but given the love and time we have invested, we ended up reminiscing and chose to commit fully to therapy. Currently, I feel very conflicted about everything. He is my best friend, and attempting to break up the first time was one of the most painful experiences I have ever gone through. His efforts to change make me feel obligated to see this through. Additionally, I acknowledge that I am not perfect. I have many flaws and bad habits that have negatively impacted our relationship, and I am working on those as well. I can be condescending when I am annoyed, and I know that my lack of trust in him to complete tasks is evident, as is my disappointment. While I was not always like this, it does not diminish the fact that my reactions hurt him and potentially make him feel inferior. I also struggle with anxiety and depression, which have strained our relationship at times, and he has been supportive as I work on myself in those areas. I also carry some sexual trauma from my previous relationship, resulting in my current partner and me primarily engaging in sexual activity when we are intoxicated, and I feel more inclined, which I recognize is a poor choice, but I am working to address this behavior. I believe I could grow in a healthier manner outside of this relationship, as relying on him to support us when I cannot manage everything feels more difficult than handling it myself without depending on him. Not sure how relevant this is, but we both come from fractured families. His parents divorced and had a complicated custody situation, while my parents never married nor acted romantically towards each other, but lived together essentially as roommates until one parent eventually moved out while I was in high school. When I was around 12 years old, I began to hope that one of them would simply leave because their relationship made no sense to me. My parents' dynamic did not deeply trouble me, aside from the fights they had while living together and my confusion regarding their togetherness despite not being truly together. They are good friends now, but I have never witnessed a healthy relationship where issues are addressed constructively. My partner has not experienced a healthy relationship either. I am uncertain whether we should continue to spend more time in therapy because conflicts are bound to arise until we genuinely work on them, or if we have simply been incompatible from the start. In summary, I am unsure whether I should remain in my long-term relationship, which has endured the same issues for 5 to 6 years, because we have only recently begun couples therapy and slow changes are being made. However, I mentally disengaged before starting therapy and have lost a significant portion of my romantic feelings. Story 3. Lied about smoking for months, lost my boyfriend over trust issues he couldn't overcome. Now aita determined to change, but will he return or is it truly over? I apologize for the formatting. I am using a mobile device. Please provide advice. To summarize, I lied to my boyfriend about smoking for 6 months, and he ended our relationship over it last night. I am a 21-year-old female, and my boyfriend is a 19-year-old male. We have been together since August 2024, and it was incredible in the beginning. We met on a dating application and clicked immediately. After a month of communicating, I made an 8-hour train journey to meet him, and it was a wonderful weekend. I have been smoking marijuana since I was 16, and he has pointed out that I have a dependency and expressed a desire for me to quit. This concern stems primarily from his negative experience with the substance. A couple of years ago, he got high while skiing and suffered brain damage that resulted in significant memory loss, such as repeating the same story multiple times in 20 minutes and forgetting my identity when lying in bed until he pulled back the sheets. I should mention that he nearly died due to this incident. He was skiing at 90 kilometers per hour down a slope, landed face first, and came closer to death than I can fathom, which was a substantial concern for him. I promised him that I would quit, and I managed to for a couple of weeks. However, after those 2 weeks, my cravings returned and I gave in. I felt remorseful about it, but could not stop myself afterward. The following months were filled with guilt and embarrassment. I felt like a failure for not being able to quit, and I was reluctant to tell him out of fear he would be disappointed in me. He asked me several times over the months if I had been smoking, and each time, I looked him in the eyes and swore that I had not. I wanted to confess every time, but when I saw his face, I couldn't bring myself to utter the words that would devastate him. He has been an incredible boyfriend, displaying calmness, patience, maturity beyond that of many adults, and a deep sense of love. He has autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which makes romantic situations challenging for him. For instance, when I invited him to see a movie, he assumed I meant simply to hang out and not as a date. However, since I brought it up, he has been making a tremendous effort for me. I drove to his place on Friday night. We all got very drunk and just spent time together. The next morning, he requested to see my phone, and I agreed. He found a text I had sent to my sister earlier that week asking if she had any marijuana, and he showed it to me in silence. I panicked and told him it was just that one time, but he continued scrolling and discovered more messages dating back to November. We discussed everything over the weekend. He asked all the questions he could think of, and I provided the best answers I could. He told me on Saturday afternoon that he would give me another chance as long as I vowed to quit. He warned that if I failed, he would not hesitate to leave. I agreed, feeling immensely grateful for the opportunity. However, Sunday was worse. He was angrier, but we continued to have lengthy discussions about it. On Monday morning, when he left for work, he kissed me goodbye, told me he loved me, and mentioned that he needed time to consider what to do. I drove back home, and within 10 minutes of arriving, he called me. He said, "Hi," and I just knew. I asked him repeatedly to please give me another chance, but he kept saying, "I'm sorry." He explained that it wasn't the smoking itself that bothered him, but rather the months of lying and deleting messages. I attempted to explain, not excuse, just clarify, that I did not lie to him out of malice, but because I was too ashamed to admit to myself that I had a problem. How could I look into the eyes of the man I love most, knowing disappointment would reflect back at me? The phone call occurred right after he talked to his mother, who is very traditional, and told him that he knows what he wants to do. I anticipated her words. As she had previously suggested, he should reconsider due to an accidental pregnancy, where I made the decision to terminate asking him if I was trying to trap him. I feel like the rug has been pulled out from under me. He shifted from contemplating another chance to ending our relationship, speaking without any emotion. I reassured him repeatedly that I would make real changes, smash my bong, discard everything, and do whatever necessary to prove my sincerity, but he responded that I had destroyed all trust he had in me. I begged him to consider giving me another chance, and if it didn't work, that would be it, but he merely repeated, "I'm sorry." I inquired about what a second chance would entail and if we would continue to communicate. He said he wanted to remain friends and would message me later that night. I informed him I would not pursue anyone else or engage in any activities I wouldn't in a relationship. I asked him if he could do the same for me, at least until we had a discussion agreeing that we would not get back together, which he agreed to. We had always stated that if anything ever happened and we parted ways, we did not think we could stay apart and would want to try again. He asked for a week to think things through and take space. I feel like I have completely wrecked everything due to my dependency and weakness of willpower. I have lost the greatest thing I have ever had the privilege of experiencing, and I understand the expected comments about being young and meeting others in time. I recognize it. I have experienced enough relationships to know what people say during breakups, but it is difficult. When I say that this man is my one in a lifetime, I genuinely mean it. We simply connect so naturally and share a strong bond. We understand each other to the point where we can predict thoughts before they are spoken. Our chemistry and love are unparalleled, and he is unlike anyone I have ever met. He is the other end of my red string. He expressed the need for time and space, and that he did not want me waiting for him. I assured him I would provide the time and space he required, and he said if it is meant to be, it will happen, but he needed room. We exchanged messages last night as he had suggested, and he sent a lengthy paragraph, which felt very final ages of encouragement about my future and that he would miss me, but we continued discussing it. I asked if this was permanent, and he could not provide a clear answer, mentioning we need to set a time to return each other's belongings. My family and best friend believe he should have stayed and that his mother influenced his final decision. I just want him back. I want to quit, improve myself, and demonstrate that I can be the girlfriend he deserves. I am simply worried it is too late. Everyone has advised me to give him time and pursue silence, letting him process the situation without my presence, helping him realize he truly misses me and wants to try again. It is so challenging. How can you shift from speaking with someone you love deeply every day for 308 days to absolutely nothing? I am determined to respect his need for space and time, yet part of me fears he will prefer life without me and will not miss or want me back. He assured me that he loved me just as much as he always has, but I shattered his trust and he is uncertain if it can be restored. I genuinely do not know what to do. I am fully aware that I messed up beyond redemption, and if I could reverse it all, I would do so in a heartbeat. I want to allow everything to unfold and hope for the universe to bring him back to me, but I am deeply anxious about losing someone who means more to me than anything in the world. We share a profound connection and have confided in each other about things no one else knows. No one understands his trauma or memory loss the way I do, and the same goes for him regarding me. I am hoping beyond hope and praying in bed that he will return to me, and by that time, I will be a better person, capable of giving him what he deserves. I just fear it could backfire, and he may come to realize that his life is more peaceful without me. If given another chance, I would do everything in my power to ensure that I never messed up like that again, or hurt him, or made him feel the way I have ever again. What can I do to win him back? How can I successfully quit this time and prove that I meant every word? How can I become the person he needed me to be? Story 4. Title: Reconnecting with my childhood best friend turned long-distance boyfriend. Am I expecting too much affection in our relationship? In this almost 3-year-long long-distance relationship with my childhood best friend, I find myself longing for more love and affection than he seems to give. Am I pushing too hard for romance after our deep friendship? Hello, everyone. I would appreciate some outside perspective on a situation I may be overthinking. To provide some background, my boyfriend and I started as childhood best friends. We engaged in numerous activities together and even attended the same schools. Our relationship was akin to that of siblings. After high school, we lost touch. I relocated, got married, and subsequently divorced over the span of 6 years. I missed my connections back home and decided to reach out to all my old friends, including him, with whom I still maintain contact today. Over the course of 2 years, we re-established our friendship, and it felt as if nothing had changed. We enjoyed each other's company as we used to, but we were older and both had moved on from long-term relationships that did not succeed. Eventually, we both wondered, what if we date each other? I was the one who proposed this idea and he agreed. Thus, our long-distance relationship was formed. Now, here's part of my predicament. I am a loving, dedicated person. I had poured all that love into my narcissistic, before everyone else used that term, and abusive ex-husband who cheated on me and left. Despite my trauma, I cannot help but love the same way. I knew I was in love with my boyfriend when I found myself thinking about him constantly, wondering if he loved me in my diary, craving to send him cookies and gifts, and remembering to greet him every morning. I flirt, I compliment, I keep his secrets that no one else knows, I joke, and I listen. You understand what I mean. However, he does not reciprocate in the same way, at least not to the extent I desire. Now, for his side of the story. Despite his joking, patient, kind, and almost laid-back demeanor, my boyfriend grew up in a loveless household that experienced divorce. Affection from his parents ended when he was 9 years old, when he was deemed a man. His friends were primarily male peers who did not express affection in that manner. They were not the kind of guys one could confide in. There is a reason we were best friends, as he considers me different. He also had a small group of female friends who appreciated him for not wanting to date them, unlike other boys in high school. Regarding our visits, when we reunited in person for the first time, 1 year into our long-distance relationship, I understood his shyness and reserved nature. Our dynamic had altered. While we had changed physically, we still joked together and enjoyed the same shows and interests. Our time together was lovely. Our dates went well. We held hands, eventually hugged and kissed, but sexual intimacy did not occur. I was eager to demonstrate to this man how to be loved. However, he did not respond physically. I realized my boyfriend was a virgin with little understanding of how to show affection to another person. I was gentle, patient, and reassuring, but it all culminated in just a cuddle. 13 months later, we met again, this time for him to meet my family. Everyone got along splendidly, and they remembered him fondly as my best friend. While our subsequent dates went well, it felt awkward to even hold hands despite having joked comfortably online just days before. In person, we were surrounded by expectations of what couples should do. Before he left again, we had a conversation. I expressed how I show love and what I expected from our relationship: loyalty, friendship, reliability, and openness. Demonstrations of affection hold significant meaning for me. I want to feel special. After everything I have been through, I believe I deserve that much. He stated he expected what we already have. He felt I should recognize my significance based on our past experiences together. To be honest, I could offer more examples. I should feel loved because he takes the time to visit me, finances our dates, spends time with me online every week, shares secrets with me, recounts our adventures together, meets my family, whom he technically already knew, has discussions with me, listens, assists me, and tells me he loves me. Shouldn't all that be sufficient for me? My main concern is that he does not flirt with me. When I flirt with him, he either does not respond or laughs it off. He seldom compliments me. When I compliment him, he is skeptical or responds with self-deprecation that I must dismiss. We still have not been intimate, and he has not sought medical advice or attempted to address his physical issues. The only indication he has given is the suggestion that he might be asexual. However, he has neither confirmed nor explored this further. He never says he misses me unless I say it first, nor does he greet me in the morning unless I initiate it myself. Whenever I attempt to steer the conversation toward a romantic direction, he becomes unresponsive. Am I asking for too much? Am I rushing him? Are we at different emotional levels? I hesitate to suggest that we break up over these few concerns when nearly everything else is going wonderfully. We are friends first. I hold love for him in my heart, and I am almost certain he feels the same for me. I wish to be patient and understanding, but I am also frightened because of my past. Are these subtle signs that he does not truly care for me? Is he merely hanging on because we are friends and he wishes to avoid hurting me? I feel almost foolish for seeking advice on the internet. I have a therapist, for goodness sake, and he only asks, "What would make you happy?" Fully aware of the situation. In summary, I am a divorced woman in an almost 3-year long-distance relationship with my childhood best friend. Online, we continue to remain best friends and connect exceptionally well. We express our love for one another at the end of every call and exchange long-distance kisses. We have met in person twice, and during both visits, it became evident that we love each other, but I express it more profoundly than he does. This situation troubles me because I have deeply suppressed trust issues, and he has not experienced a genuinely loving relationship since childhood, which may have left him slightly numb. I aim to be open, patient, and reassuring, yet internally, my self-esteem and trust issues are triggered when he does not even compliment me, let alone express a desire for physical intimacy. While I do not consider sex to be the most crucial aspect, I am merely expressing what triggers my anxiety. The relationship is great aside from his lack of romantic gestures toward me, and I feel guilty asking for more from someone who is evidently as damaged as I am. What should I do?